This podcast is brought to you by Bonus Room Productions, and we own this town.
I am Jason T. Meares, Esquire.
And I'm Kelly Hoyle Bolick.
And we are Dimas Today. How's it going, Kelly?
JT, it's one of the greatest days of my entire life.
Me too, but you go ahead.
They just started shooting Bill and Ted Face the Music today, right now. They're probably still shooting it right now.
Fantastic. I'm just so excited. I saw Alex Winter had that shot on Instagram with the Sweet Wild Stallions sweatshirt, which I'm going to be purchasing whenever those are
kind of an updated font there.
Yeah, it did not look homemade, which I have some theories about. But that was great. And then also Ed Solomon posted the very first shot.
Yeah.
Which I also have some theories about.
Two people in it that aren't Keanu and Alex Winter.
Right. I have some theories. Anyway.
Okay. You don't want to talk about them?
No, not yet. Okay. Not yet. There will be time. We will get to them.
All right. So we've got that. We've got some casting updates. And then we've got a very special guest today.
Tell us about our guest.
A friend of the pod, longtime pal, the beautiful voice of our intro, Miss Becky Delius is here in the studio with us.
Welcome to the studio.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
Becky agreed to kind of be our intro person for a podcast about movies, which she had never seen before.
Ever.
And so a few weeks back, I made her watch them.
Back to back.
In
one sitting.
That's right.
Yeah, it was good though. Yeah, I never watched them as a kid. I guess I wasn't too young. I don't know. I thought they were like teenage boy movies or something.
You maybe were like just a little, because you're a few years younger than us.
Right.
And so you might have missed the boat.
Just a little bit.
Just by a little bit,
yeah. I mean, I loved Keanu Reeves, no doubt. But yeah, that was like maybe happening before I was sort of aware of that culturally or whatever.
Had you seen Lost Boys?
So I have seen Lost Boys, but it's one of those things where something is like so ingrained in your like cultural awareness that you're like, did I watch that movie when I was a kid, or do I just know everything about that movie because I live in the world?
Kind of like the Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sort of. But so I've seen Lost Boys, but I don't think I saw it like at the time that it was in theaters and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Just visions of a shirtless, oiled up saxophone player. You're like, where did that guy come from?
My dreams.
I must have seen
the movie. Yeah.
I vividly remember there's a scene in Lost Boys, right, where they like open a box of like Chinese food and it's maggots.
Yeah.
So that imprinted heavily.
Okay.
On me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. I can't wait to dig into your thoughts on those movies, but let's get to some of this casting news. Some of the
major casting news.
Yes.
It's really all coming together. The IMDb page has really filled up this past week.
They're listing an office worker on there now. That's how intense this is getting. And I have not seen one internet article about this, so I think we're breaking this news. Angela Batty? I don't know. She's playing an office worker in the movie.
All right.
Yeah.
Way to go, Angela.
Yeah. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the team. Welcome to Team Wild Stallions.
I did look on her IMDb, and it looks like she's in some post-production for some other stuff. This show, Tall Girl, on Netflix.
Okay. Nice. No,
Way to
that's
go.
great. I'm stoked to have her on board.
All right. So, first big news we got, it was 3 roles. 2 returning, and then we've got a new actor playing an old role. We have Beck Bennett from Saturday Night Live playing Deacon Logan, and hopefully playing drug dealer Deacon Logan, like you and I predicted.
Yes, for sure.
Sadly, the role did not go to Timothy Olyphant, but I was thinking about this. Timothy Olyphant, same exact age as Keanu Reeves. So,
well, when we get to some more casting, I think we can talk about the elasticity of age in this
That's
film.
true.
So.
Good point. So we have Hal Landon back as Captain Logan. Now on IMDb, he's listed as Captain Logan.
Right.
In the the press release, Police Chief Logan. So
no, sir. Police Chief Chet Logan, which blew my mind, Becky. I mean, you've seen the movies now, so did you know that he was Chet?
No.
No, you did not.
No.
And you know why?
No.
Because they didn't use the name Chet in the movies.
Oh.
The name Chet, I looked into this, first appeared in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, the cartoon series.
Oh my goodness. You've been holding out on me.
I just found out, man. I looked into this because it was blowing my mind. He was named Chet in the cartoon series.
All right.
In a flashback episode where it revealed Chet Logan used to be in a band, but he was fired from the band.
Oh my word.
Because he was not punctual and he couldn't make it to practice on time.
So how long after the movies did the cartoon come out?
Well, the cartoon actually came out before the second film.
Oh,
so
okay.
they actually had the cartoon going on while they were producing Bogus Journey, and they were making the transition to the TV series, but they held on releasing the TV series until Bogus Journey made its money back. So just kind of weird. But at first, the first season of the cartoon series actually had the voice actors from the movie.
Yeah.
So you had Keanu Reeves,
which is incredible.
Alex Winter, Clarence Clemens, like all these people.
Was
George
it
Carlin.
good?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it was not good. It's pretty terrible. But for like a late 80s, early 90s Saturday morning cartoon, not terrible. I mean, worthy of having a crappy cereal, for sure. But not worthy of showing up on Boomerang.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, the second season, they changed the cast to the low-rent actors. No offense to these actors, but the actors that they had replace the main actors, like the Fox equivalent of Keanu Reeves, that stuff. And then they did the voices. So it was like right at that time period. Is that too much of an explanation there?
That's great. I won't edit that out at all.
No, it's going to stand there forever.
I forgot what the question was.
Yes. So did I.
Well, I do like the idea. I love the idea, that backstory of Ted's dad having like flamed out in a band on his own. Maybe that's part of the reason he's so pissed off at his kid.
Yep.
It's a good find, by the way.
Hey.
Excellent job. Well done. Good half-ass research you did.
Hey. I do what I can, which is half of it.
So even more exciting than Hal coming back is Missy is back.
Oh, man.
Amy, and forgive us if we mispronounce your last name. I'm just going to go with Stoke. Amy Stoke, but
I think that's right.
Maybe it's pronounced differently.
I think it's Amy Stoke.
So she's back as Missy. I did some digging on Amy. Amy is Dr. Amy Stoke. She is a teacher of theater history. Got her PhD like 7 years ago. Additional casting news.
Yeah, this is interesting. They cast the princesses.
Yes.
2 known quantities, but again, they've been recast. So we have Jayma Mays playing Joanna. Jayma, you might know, I knew from Glee. She played the love interest in Glee. Fantastic actress. I think she's going to do great as Joanna. And then I was really excited about this. Erin Hayes as Elizabeth.
Right.
If you've seen Children's Hospital, she is hilarious.
Yeah, she's done like a lot of stuff with Comedy Bang Bang, right?
Yep. And she's also the person that was most recently and most famously fired from Kevin Can Wait.
Oh, okay.
She was the wife in Kevin Can Wait, and they killed her off after the first season and then brought back...
what's her name from The King of Queens,
yes,
right?
Yes.
I forget that actress's name. Interest. Yeah.
And Amy Schumer had a great joke about that, which was Kevin can go fuck himself. But so this wraps into the age discussion, which we had alluded to earlier,
right?
Where Timothy Olyphant is the same age as Keanu, right?
Yep.
These actresses are easily 11, 12, 13 years younger.
They're like our age.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a Hollywood staple, right? Like,
it's a
unfortunately.
Bummer. I mean, I love both these actresses. I think they're going to do a great job. I'm excited to see what they do, but I would really like to see Diane Franklin playing one of these roles again. It's kind of a bummer, and it's a little weird.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of internet chatter about that. People upset, and I don't know. It's frustrating that it's a standard.
Well, we definitely had to give Diane a shout out on social media when they had made that casting announcement that day.
Yeah, friend of the pod.
We love you, Diane.
Yeah. We have a few more tidbits that we can talk about that I'd like to talk about because this is really interesting stuff. We got sent to us some of the casting notices for extras on this film.
Oh, right.
And it's interesting the people that they're looking for. So they're looking for a lot of historical reenactors of any historical period. They're like, if you are a historical reenactor, hit us up. We could probably use you. Which is interesting because it seems like maybe at some point they're going all through time and this music is going to get played through all time. I mean, if you've got Civil War reenactors or Roman legionnaires, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They also mentioned that they're looking for somebody who looks like Babe Ruth, which is... Babe Ruth was one of the original characters in the film. I don't know if you knew that, Becky. I mean, you've been following this podcast pretty well. And since you've watched the movies, I know you're like really into it.
Right.
So.
I'm like very into it.
Yeah. So Babe Ruth, George Washington. I'm trying to think if there are a few more, but Just interesting in that they were extra casting. So I don't know if that was like blended in. Maybe George Washington would have had a few lines and Babe Ruth would have had a few lines.
Right.
Or if they were just going to like show flashes of them.
I wonder if Paul Giamatti's free right now. I think he could fill any of those.
How many like Babe Ruth impersonators are there right now working in the United States?
I think any like kind of fat middle-aged white guy with short hair could pull it off.
I mean, John Goodman famously played him in the movie Babe.
Yeah.
That's the one movie iteration of Babe Ruth I can even think of.
But if you were like, I want to throw a baseball theme party and I need a Babe Ruth, like how hard would it be to like scare one up?
It'd have to be super easy. I mean, just a guy in pinstripes who's kind of pudgy with short hair.
All right.
I mean,
but like there are purists who would be like, well, Babe Ruth had brown eyes and a heavy brow, and this guy doesn't.
You're probably right.
And, like,
you're probably right.
I think what Jason's saying, either one of us are available to play Babe Ruth.
Yeah,
you'd have to shave, Kelly. You'd have to shave. But also a caveman, right? That was something they were like,
oh, Kelly, you could be a caveman for sure.
Is that a compliment?
Just,
is that,
it's not a compliment.
Yeah. Not the Geico.
if I got that real Cro-Magnon look going on, is that what's happening?
You just have
I'm just a caveman.
You just have kind of like a primal vibe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, it's like not bad.
Oh, an Asian emperor. That was the other one.
Okay.
An Asian emperor.
I don't think I can pull that off.
Do they need an Asian person? Because I feel like in Hollywood too, you don't really have to be the same.
Here's the thing with the Babe Ruth casting. The age requirement is age 20 to age 50. So
20, like a 20-year-old Babe Ruth.
Yeah. To be George Washington, male 35 plus, which makes sense because you have to be 35 to be president. So makes sense. Queen Elizabeth, that's another one. And then if anybody out there happens to look like Bill or Ted, they're looking for people to be stand-ins.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay,
Man.
Sorry. That's
okay.
That's cool.
And we had heard that there's so much interest in being an extra down in New Orleans that they're actually holding a lottery, right?
Yeah.
To get in. Yeah.
Okay, so
all right.
Becky.
Yeah. Yes.
What did you think of the first movie?
That's such a huge question.
It is.
Do you specific? Well, okay. So here's the first thing that I liked about the movie.
Okay.
Because I'm the kind of person that I get really anxious. Period. But I get anxious like with movies when I am like, I don't know what's going to happen. And for me, it kind of takes some of the enjoyment out of it because I'm constantly like, even if it's a comedy, I'm just like, I just want to know. So I always like read the Wikipedia. I always like read Reddit for spoilers, whatever. Like I have to know like what is going to happen before I watch a movie so I can actually enjoy it. So what I liked about Bill and Ted was like pretty early on when you see Bill and Ted and the exchange in the parking lot, I'm like, oh, so it's fine. So you're kind of seeing the ending first, like, oh, okay, like I can relax now. Like they're not going to die.
Right.
Like they're not going to like, it's fine. Like, it's totally fine.
Stakes are somewhat low.
I felt safe. You know what I mean? I felt like I was in a safe place.
Good.
So that was good. So there was sort of, it almost felt like in a lot of it that Keanu and Alex didn't know exactly what they were doing. And they were sort of allowed to not know what they were doing. And it came across almost like they sort of gave these guys a script and then they were like, but it's do whatever, you know, like it's if you can kind of flesh it out yourself. I don't know. It really felt like watching two teenage dudes like kind of bumble their way around and through history. But I liked it. The second one was like off the rails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, do you think it was off the rails in a good way or a bad way?
Well,
or either. It's just like, wow, that's different. I did not see that coming.
Yeah. There were a couple of times where I looked over at Kelly and I said, I don't know what's happening anymore. And so we would pause the movie and I would like kind of get brought like, what's the thing that like morphs into another thing?
Station.
Okay, why is he called Station?
They were writing the script. It was a late night. Like they'd been banging it out for hours and hours and hours. And they tried cutting out this one scene set in a police station.
Yep.
They cut everything out except for the word station.
Right.
And then when they went back and looked at it, they're like, what the hell is this?
And I think they got pretty drunk and just started yelling station. And they were just like, we have to keep this in the movie.
Okay. What was that thing?
It's a Martian.
Yeah. But like,
Martian.
Okay.
He's the universe's greatest scientist. They had to get the universe's greatest scientist to be able to build the good robots.
Yeah. I just felt like I had a lot of questions about that character.
Yeah.
The first one, so I mean, I loved Socrates. Like, I loved Napoleon, obviously. They were, I don't know. All the characters are they looked like who they're supposed to look like. It was high energy. It was fun. I didn't, I was prepped beforehand that there was an uncomfortable 3-letter word that was going to be said in both movies.
Yep. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah. So honestly, you know what? Actually, I kind of, well, no, I didn't miss it. Okay. So yeah. So after I watched the first one, I'd kind of forgotten that they even said it in the first one, but I guess because it sort of happened and it didn't feel, that word to me, just because of the world that we live in, always should bristle you a little bit. And so I was kind of warned that it's going to be there, and try to just put it, it was a different time, whatever.
There wasn't a lot of malice, right, in the way.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of malice. It did feel like two idiot teenage kids saying it to one another and not necessarily maybe even knowing what it meant.
Right.
But the second movie when they said it, it was like, ugh. It felt grosser or something. But also in the second movie, so the scene in the second movie where bad Bill and bad Ted are trashing good Bill and good Ted's apartment, and I forget whose head, but one of their head. Oh yeah, so Ted's head comes off, and Bill is like, "Oh, I'll get it for you, dude." And I was like, "That's very out of character, because if they're assholes, why is he helping his friend out?" and I spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about that, what that decision was. I was like, "Why are you helping him?" He's like,
I've thought about that too, and actually, I have a theory about this. I think it.
Can you believe it?
Who knew? Dimas, who created these two evil robots, where the robots had to be based on Bill and Ted. In order to be believable versions of Bill and Ted, they had to be programmed with this affinity for one another. So I think there's some stuff in the first movie too, where Ted talks about turning up the mambo on one of Bill's solos during a performance that they had. So the characters do rib each other a little bit, but I think in that instance that was the programming of Bill and Ted shining through in the evil robot us's, and that's why he was helpful in that.
Yeah, it was so weird. But then in the first one, so I love the whole thing with the mom, wait, which one is that? Which one?
Missy.
Yeah, Missy, right. So Missy, but that's Ted's mom.
Well, it's Bill's stepmom, and then in the second film,
then yeah. I thought that was, I also watching that, I was like, how uncomfortable would that be to really happen? That would be terrible.
Well, it does play into Jason's theory that Missy's the true power player of the series. You know what I mean?
And so the same, she never came across as ditzy to me either. I mean, if anything, it was a sort of feigned kind of damsel thing, but I think she's kind of smart. She's probably I'm gonna hook up with these older men who adore me, and I'll get this nice house, and I
see that. My theory is, though, if you look at Ted's house in the first film, right, it's a one-story kind of ranch. It's all brown and beige and looks kind of sad. And Bill's house is a 2-story.
They have a pool.
Yeah, they have a pool. Yeah. It's nice, right?
Yeah.
So I think Missy's the one with the money in this situation. I really think she's the one with the money.
That's a plot twist.
She's got the nice car, she's got the house with the pool.
Right. Yeah.
And then in the second film, when the princesses are captured from Missy's house,
right,
that's a really nice
house. It's a serious upgrade.
It's true. Yeah. That's true. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about that. Yeah, and I also thought that the first dad that she's married to is he doesn't seem cool enough or hot enough, or even he didn't carry himself like a wealthy man. And I was just how did he get this?
Yeah.
What happened here? You might be onto something there. But, I thought, so I had a couple people who, when I told them that I was watching the movies, the opinions were on polar opposite. So nobody was like, oh yeah, that movie's cool. Everybody was like, oh God, why? Or they were like, yeah, those movies are awesome. So it's it was kind of interesting. And I think it is one of those movies that, I have them for myself where you watch them at such an impressionable age and they just become part of the fiber of who you are and how you identify yourself.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. but it doesn't always track, right? You can watch that stuff later and you're like, oh God, that was terrible. Or you watch it for the first time as an adult and you're like, I don't get the big deal about this, I had a friend who watched The Wizard of Oz as an adult, and they were like, I don't get it. And I was just like, well, you didn't watch it when you were 7,
right, Right.
Yeah. My dad is still scared of flying monkeys because he saw that as a child.
Well, to be fair, flying monkeys are frightening, right? There's nothing friendly about a flying monkey.
But I think Bill and Ted is sort of similar, it's kind of a I get it. It's like it's a goofy movie, right? About two guys. It's very like I mean, it has the stamp of the 80s, I guess, on it. And I could see we're seeing it. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. Even now, as like a 30-something, my age is elastic as well. So a mid-30s woman, you know, I thought it was cool. And I appreciated, I mean, to me, it was like a better version of going on like a school field trip to like a wax museum or something,
right?
You know?
Okay.
I'm like, if they had just maybe play this in classrooms, maybe kids would be more into history, you know?
I'm pretty sure that they show that at Hendersonville High School once or twice. But
yeah, I mean, I loved Napoleon. Like, it was so good. Yeah. And I feel like they did bizarrely like a super good job with kind of nailing some of the nuance of those historical characters. Yeah. I mean, obviously everybody knows like Napoleon's small and he's, you know, and he's kind of pissy and whatever. But I don't know, but I thought those actors did such a good job of really like encompassing who what we think of those people, and like Socrates, and I don't know, I thought it was rad.
You know, Terry Camilleri, who played Napoleon, he got pretty much free reign to do like a lot of that is just him because he had very little lines in the film.
Right.
So he came up with the, you know, sliding down the bowling alley and like slamming it.
Yeah. Well, he's like knocking kids out of the way at Waterloo.
Oh,
and I was like, that's perfect. I mean, like, what do kids mean of Napoleon? He doesn't care. He doesn't, you know, kids were like on the battlefield at 12 years old, you know, and he was like, he didn't give a shit, you know? He's like, you peasants are expendable. Like, get out of my way, you know? I thought it was perfect. Yeah. And then the second one, I wish I had more opinions about the second one, but honestly, it just like, I just had a tough time with it.
No, I can see that, especially if you're watching it back to back.
Yeah, and we were drinking a little bit.
You know, sure. You know what? One of the things for me, because you know, we were both, I think, in agreement that we're more partial to that first movie, and a lot of it's what we have discussed. It's just a bit warmer. The stakes are a little lower. It's safer. With the second film, you know, to me, there's just always been a bit of an uncomfortable darkness to it.
I will say though, like Death and all their interactions were like solid, like chef's kiss. Like they were like pitch perfect. Yeah. And like in my car from Bill and Ted Day, like, you know, the little pack of like trading cards you guys have in my pack, I got like the cool picture of Death with like the purple smock. And I just have it in my car because I'm like, this is the best. This is wonderful. It doesn't get any better than that. And that to me is like such a perfect, like what an affable guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Just great. One thing that keeps me up at night worrying about like Bill and Ted Face the Music, right? Something that I'm actually concerned about. And
all the things that you could be concerned about right now,
right?
Just throw that on the pile.
I mean, this is the most important thing. This is the most pressing thing is, you know, knowing what we know, Kelly and I know, and you too, Becky, because you've been listening to the podcast and you're, you know, like full up on all this. But
sometimes 2 and 3 times per episode.
Earlier drafts of the film and the characters themselves were much darker in the early beginnings. Like the first Bill and Ted script was almost like an evil Forrest Gump through time
right
thing.
There wasn't going to be Napoleon, it was going to be Hitler, you know.
Right. And like Bill and Ted were responsible for all these dark tragic things happening throughout the world, right? This is one of the original scripts.
Yeah.
And it eventually got toned down. Toned down.
Was Hitler really going to be one of the characters?
Well, I think they realized, like, you know,
because it's hard to make that funny.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was something they realized pretty quickly. They can't do a movie that stars Hitler.
Right. Right. Especially a comedy star.
Yeah.
I mean, Genghis Khan did some terrible things, but that's so. I mean, that's history has softened that blow just a little bit. You know,
a little bit. You know, want a Twinkie, Genghis Khan? Oh man.
Right.
My concern is maybe that in the scripts, the darkness is actually baked in a little bit more. And the first director did a better job of bringing out the true gem of what Bill and Ted actually were. And the second script maybe hewed a little closer to the writers and what they were going for. And hopefully 3 threads that needle. I mean, the writers are much more mature and have a much better understanding.
That's kind of what he was saying, that they're really aiming for a little bit more of the feel of the first film, but at the same time, 30 plus years of life happening to these guys. So, you know, that'll be baked in as well.
Yes. Yep.
So sorry to go back to the second one. Why do you have to wear lavender in heaven?
Great question.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Okay.
That's weird. It's
and
so
sort of
weird.
like Little House on the Prairie, sort of.
Well, everybody's
But in
like
trench coats,
floral.
Everybody is in a like lavender whitish version of whatever they were wearing when they died, or of their time period. So you've got like lavender, like boxers wearing lavender gloves and boxer shorts. You've got lavender, Uncle Buck with the Uncle Buck hat and the trench coat.
I love that choice, but I spent also a lot of time trying to figure it out while I was watching the movie. And what? Why? I need something. I need like an artist statement or something.
I think the answer is they were trying to find a cheap way to show heaven.
Okay. Yeah.
So like you've got the big painted mat in the background.
Clouds and like harps wouldn't have worked, I guess.
Right, exactly. So they probably shot their wad doing hell, because those rock breaking sequences were pretty badass. Heaven was just kind of,
super weird.
Right.
But
and the future was very much like Back to the Future 2.
It was.
I mean, that like big poofy everything,
I've never
giant
seen that movie
shoes.
either.
Well, so the future that they show in Bogus Journey, it's like all the clothes are oversized and they got
they were all versions
glasses.
of their clothes, right? If you look at like the costumes,
yeah, kind of.
They're all like, because they have like the flannel tied around the way, like, and they're all just like super kind of like artsy, futuristic, overstated versions of their clothes.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. And, interesting choice. But we also, in the first movie, had, for my money, a much cooler version of what the future looked like with the three most important people in the world.
Yeah.
And, when Bill and Ted go to the future for the first time, they're playing their music and they first say...
Everybody comes out and does the guitar strum with them, like a cult.
Yeah.
I feel like Jill O'Hannessy did an amazing job with it.
They should have all been like, what was that cult in California? All had like the Nikes and Heaven's Gate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Heaven's Gate will make an appearance in Bill and Ted.
I mean, if we're trying to keep it light, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Well, I tell you, some of the
That's what they mean by face the music.
some of the boots I see people wear nowadays, I feel like that Bill and Ted 2.
Kids in their boots.
These kids in the giant boots. We're headed straight for Bill and Ted 2 future.
Yeah. All right. Well, at least it's a utopia.
Yeah.
So one of the other things we wanted to talk to you about was, in addition to these great movies, the biggest star to come out of the films, you may have heard him. His name's Keanu Reeves. And
he was in that cat movie, right?
He was in that cat movie.
Yep.
That's right. He was the voice of the cat. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we are in the midst of what some might call a Keanu-sance.
I call it a Revaissance.
Yeah. We were both talking that we kind of like that better.
It's really nice.
Thank you.
But with Keanu popping up everywhere, from the Colbert appearance to, all these movies to, in the news, it seems like every other day with how awesome he is. We were wondering if you have some feelings about that.
I mean, sure. I have feelings about everything.
This is true.
So another movie for me that was really influential was Bram Stoker's Dracula that came out.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
When I want to say I was maybe like 11 or 12 when that movie came out, and it was like, it's like one of those movies that you are like, okay, this is actively informing who I am as a human being and my likes and he's Jonathan Harker. He's like he's like one of the main characters in that movie, and like I was too young to know that like his portrayal, people like made fun of it and they thought it was like but I was like, this guy's awesome and he's super hot. like yeah, this is rad, and so to me, Keanu's always Jonathan Harker. He's always like the guy from Dracula, and then he was in a Paula Abdul video.
Yeah, he was.
Rush.
Yeah, and that was also like, he's so hot. So you know what, I'm glad that Keanu is like back. I'm glad. I mean, he doesn't have any like major scandals, right? So that's kind of rare
That we know of.
that you know
None
of.
yet.
Nothing's hit. And I did go down a rabbit hole reading all about his like girlfriend and like the mother of his child who unfortunately passed, and how she like died going back to a party at Marilyn Manson's house, like all this wild stuff that happened.
He was best friends with River Phoenix.
Yeah, he's just kind of this like kind of tragic like character,
It's funny that it's been talked about a lot how when River died, I think there's a lot of roles he got that probably would have been River Phoenix roles. It really it changed the trajectory of his career a little bit in like the saddest way possible.
Right.
And if you ever get a chance to see My Own Private Idaho, it's phenomenal. It stars both of them. It's a shame they didn't get to do any more films together.
He seems like a good dude. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
Who knows? Like, who knows what private lives celebrities live? But I mean, I'm all about it. I'm all for seeing somebody who is like a celebrity and doing it the right way, and who didn't get there presumably by manipulating people or forcing other people into bad decisions, or it doesn't. I mean, he seems like a solid, respectful person. So more of that in Hollywood, please.
Yeah, everywhere.
More of that everywhere.
Yeah.
But, at least if you're going to be paid millions of dollars to play pretend, like I would rather you be a nice person doing it than like some dickhead, who gets rewarded for that. So, sorry, random thing I just remembered. So you guys remember when Heath Ledger died?
Yes.
And there was like that, I don't know if this is like truth or if this is just a rumor, but like one of the Olsen twins was with him when he died.
That's true. Yeah.
And that she immediately went to Keanu Reeves's apartment.
Oh wow.
After, like she was basically like called the police or whatever from his apartment. I always think that was I'm always like curious about that.
Interesting.
What happened there?
Yeah.
I want to know like what the tea is with that.
Were they living in the same building? I mean,
I don't know that they were in the same building, but like I think she went there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know if you guys had any insight.
I didn't know anything.
I had never heard that.
Yeah.
I heard about the old.
Yeah,
Olsen
and that somehow,
in,
and not that like obviously anything nefarious necessarily,
right.
but
I mean, it makes sense that dude has gone through something similar and a nice guy, so you'd want to go there.
Right.
And like,
Maybe you are like, this thing just happened.
Right.
What do I do? And he's like, I don't know, call the police. Do you guys go on Reddit a lot and read about Bill and Ted or like Keanu?
I've never been on Reddit.
What?
I've never been on Reddit. I don't even know how to Reddit.
You're like an adult white man with a podcast about a movie made in the 80s and you don't go on Reddit?
Like, no, sorry.
All right, well, we know what we're doing for homework.
Reddit is incredible.
Now, I've been on Reddit, Jason's a very anti-spoiler guy, so I think he would always avoid Reddit, but these past few years of Game of Thrones, I've ended up down that rabbit hole.
But it's not just spoilers. I mean, it could be like anything.
Yeah,
It's like Keanu. I guarantee you, there's like a Keanu Reeves conspiracy theory thread on Reddit right now. Mm-hmm. You guys should get in. You should do an episode about conspiracy theories around Bill and Ted.
All right, I like it. Maybe we'll bring you back in.
I'm getting the maybe not.
That's Reddit. Like,
yeah, or we about to destroy like everything we've held sacred for all these years.
So thanks for having me on.
What's with all this dead cattle?
Mission accomplished.
All right, I want to circle back to a question I had. Nothing to do with Bill and Ted, really. But as far as movies that you loved that were super formative for you, or that you loved when you were kids, that you've gone back and watched as an adult, that are still held up as classics or still revered by some people, have you gone back and seen any of those and been like, oh, God, I don't really care for this?
Oh, Legend?
Yeah?
Just doesn't hold up at all,
Yeah.
I don't think. Awful.
I have two, I think, pretty unpopular opinions of this. I went back and recently watched Ghostbusters. I don't really care for Ghostbusters. And I used to love that as a kid.
Yeah.
Also, and I've been lambasted for this one, Goonies. I don't like Goonies anymore.
I still love
Goonies. I loved Goonies. There's a lot I do like about it, but as a movie, as a whole, it just kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
And like the I don't know, with the fat shaming and the Asian jokes, it's almost too much for me.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want my daughter watching
I can agree with you there. I think a lot of that stuff doesn't hold up. Gosh, I love Martha Plimpton.
Oh, yeah, she's great. She's great.
Man, I heart her.
Yeah.
I can't think of any right off like the top of my head. Although I know like I'll leave here and I'll be like, oh, that one. But I grew up watching a lot of really old movies because my dad was like significantly older. And so I grew up watching a lot of movies from like the 40s and so especially with like Christmas movies. So have you ever seen Holiday Inn? It's like a classic.
I have not.
Bing Crosby. Okay. So the premise being that he goes and he like ends up buying this inn in like upstate Vermont or somewhere and turns it into this like sort of like dinner theater place where they only have shows on holidays. And so people Holiday Inn. And so people come and they whatever. So they do one for President's Day and there's a whole blackface thing in it. And I think watching that as a kid, I don't think I even really understood like what that was or whatever. And then getting older and watching it again with people. And so it's different sort of with like, because I studied theater and seeing our theater kids because they understood like, oh, this happened, like this is an unfortunate thing, part of our sort of like theatrical history. But like recently I was at like a holiday party and there were like a lot of people there, a lot of people that like didn't know me, and then the host was like, oh, we're gonna put on Holiday Inn, this is one of your favorite movies, right? Like, I've never seen it. And I was like, no, like let's not put that on, like this is like not. And she's like, oh yeah, let's put it on. And I was like,
and then we're gonna watch Song of the South.
Yeah, right. And also you love Gone with the Wind, right? And so and it's and like, so I think a lot of the movies that I'm like, it's not that I don't think they hold up, but I'm like, I understand the really uncomfortableness of these and how conflicted I feel about liking them, and trying to sort of, I don't know. And then it gets into the whole conversation of like, do you separate the art from the artist? Do you separate the art from the time that it was made in? Like, can you do that? Can you extract the good parts out of it? So it's not that it doesn't hold up. I think that it's just like, oh man, why the blackface? You could have done the whole movie without the blackface.
Yeah,
scene,
right.
You know,
the blackface adds literally nothing.
Nothing, right? It's like, it's President's Day. It's like throwaway holiday anyway. Like, who cares? You know.
Speaking of Song of the South, that was a fave of mine as a young kid. The soundtrack, I had the like 45s, you know, that you played on the Fisher Price player.
Yeah.
Loved them. Had them all memorable. Like, that's what Uncle Remus said, man.
Right.
And, God, man, just rough to go back.
I had no idea. I don't even want to use the term, but there's a term that they use in there. I had no idea it was a euphemism for an African American. And it just, like, disgusting thinking about that. No,
but yeah, it's weird. I mean,
a lot of those old Disney movies have that. You know, Dumbo. Good God,
man,
the original Dumbo is just
the crows, right?
Oh, man.
They're like caricatures. Yeah. Also, that movie's just too sad. So.
Why did they remake that? I mean, like,
and it's even sadder.
And even like Tim Burton-y creeped out weirdness,
which is like fine. Like, circuses are terrible. So if more kids don't want to go to the circus, then I'm cool with that. But also, it's just like gut wrenching, you know, to watch. Although this isn't a movie, but I did go back. So I used to watch Cheers with my parents all the time because they love Cheers. Yep. And I remember going back as like, you know, like, oh, I've watched every single thing I want to watch. Like, let's revisit something. And I was like, let me watch Cheers. And I was like, this isn't funny.
Now, did you start at the first season?
Yeah, I think I probably just started at the beginning.
I think if you skip directly to Rebecca, it's much funnier.
Yeah, because I didn't get it. I was like, why? Like, this is awful.
Yeah, it started out just standard.
It's like, were my parents dumb and I didn't know it?
I think the first few seasons of that and the first season or two of Night Court.
And I loved Night Court.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Night Court as well.
I'm scared to go back.
Those first seasons, you just gotta move past them. Just don't go in with this binge watch. Gotta watch everything and get every reference. Those old sitcoms, you've gotta cut the first part out and just move on to where they found their groove and what made them special.
Yeah.
And they really were liberal with giving shows back then a lot of time to find its stride, right? Where now you're just like, you don't hit it in the first 2 or 3 episodes, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hear you. I tried and watch that first season Cheers recently, and I was like, okay, skipping ahead.
Yeah, it was like not for me.
I have not gone back to Night Court.
I don't even know where you watch Night Court at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure
not
where
on
it's available.
Sometimes it's randomly on TV. There's like that one channel that plays like old, like there's Three's Company and on stuff like that, and like Outer Limits, and sometimes you can find Night Court on there. But I dare not.
Yeah, I wonder how like John Larroquette's character.
Ooh, like terrible.
Yeah, like how that would hold up.
So pervy.
Right.
But awful on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if that really plays, you know.
Blood of Lothario. Yeah.
It's almost like that sort of like pseudo rape scene in Bill and Ted too.
Yeah.
That's
the hardest
darkness.
part.
Like that was like, I was like, this is way too dark.
I think that's the part that I see where I'm like, it's like, this is what went wrong with like Lollapalooza in the 90s, right? Like something about that, like just aggro grunge thing that's seeped in there, you know?
Oh, right. So so Bill and Ted are like, are these like lovable kind of like skateboard kids, right? And they're listening to like Sunny Day Real Estate, and then like something happens, and then they're like listening to Limp Bizkit or whatever, and like Blink 182, and they're not nice guys anymore, and you like don't want to hang out with them anymore. They're not like journaling about you. They're like, hey, babe, they're smoke dope in my room. My parents aren't home or whatever.
Yeah, they're meth heads by the year 2000.
Yeah, and I just want like the sweet skater Bill and Ted.
Hopefully they don't travel through time to get advice from Kid Rock in this movie.
Are they gonna have MAGA hats?
Oh no.
Okay. Before we go, I do want to get to my theory about this opening shot with Bill and Ted. What I think is going to happen. It's a very minor theory, but so this opening shot, it appears to be backstage at a concert. We see the back of two rockin' looking dudes. One has long blonde hair, one has long dark hair. I believe what's going to happen is this opening shot is going to be a tracking shot following these two through a backstage, getting ready to play a massive concert. You're going to follow them out on stage. There's going to be a huge roaring crowd, and then it's going to reveal that these people aren't Bill and Ted, and that Bill and Ted are roadies for this band.
Wow. Okay.
I
don't even know what to say to that.
This is my theory.
That is a specific theory right there.
It is a very specific
All right.
theory, but, we'll see.
Okay.
Come August 2020 if I'm right or not.
Okay.
Is that when it comes out?
Yes.
That's like very soon.
It's not soon enough.
But are they going to be able to like do all the post-production work on that stuff that quickly?
I mean, that's what they're aiming for. But, when release dates like that are announced before you've even started shooting, I imagine they're going to be flexible with that release date.
But they've got, 45, 60 days to shoot. Mm-hmm. So, and they're shooting right now as of today. So you got July and August.
Yeah.
So then you've got almost 9 months to get everything edited, get all the special effects done. Becky, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah. Rewatch them again for the first time, and then we can ask you again.
Totally.
Yeah.
Actually, you can watch all the cartoons on YouTube, so
okay.
You can get started.
I could watch a few.
maybe the Fox live action series. We can.
Oh god, do not.
Can you still find some of the cereal?
I don't think so. I've found a couple boxes on eBay.
Open?
They're empty boxes.
Oh.
Okay.
But if you found an unopened box, would you eat it?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, for multiple reasons. For multiple reasons, one of which is diabetes, and the other is I have children to live for now, so I don't know if I'd eat any sugary cereal like that anymore, even if it was Bill and Ted.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well.
Yeah. Thank you.
We want to thank Becky Delius for joining us today. We always want to thank Michael Eads and We Own This Town.
We also want to thank Scott Bricklin and Scooby Tunes Music for the use of the most excellent tune, Walk Away, as our theme song.
And we want to send our best out to the cast and crew down in New Orleans right now, shooting Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Sweating their asses off. No
Stay
doubt.
cool down there, guys.
Yeah. Be excellent to each other down there.
And also party on, dudes.
We got to do the song because that's what hypes us up to do our intro.
Otherwise, I'm just dead.
This is dead in the water.
Yeah.
See this energy level currently?
Yeah. You guys are weird in the daylight.
No, that's very true.
Don't look at me.